Hello everyone and welcome. This is Mindy Eggen for Concord and Ninth. Today I'm introducing to you Cup of Kindness Stamps and Dies. Now here is a look at the actual stamp and die set. You can see it is a large 6x8 stamp set filled with some really fun images. You have an outline of a cup. There's also a large decorative cup. You have a variety of small and large, plus the lids that you can all stamp out in some really fun colors. All of these sentiments like sip, sip, hooray, good vibes, have a nice day, a little something to perk up your day, chai like you, a latte. So some really great things on here. And of course, there are some examples on the back. Now for the die set, you can use these to cut out your stamped cups, or you can use them on their own and die cut from a colored cardstock, which I will have examples of. Now for the lid, there's two pieces of the lid, so you can layer that on there, really give it some dimension. There's also the smiley face that you can add to the front of your cup. Some really great ideas. This can be used all year round. Now the examples that I'm going to be showing, I will be doing in some kind of just general colors here that I stamped out. You also have that stamp that says thanks with an extra shot of hugs. I love that, and it's got that little checkbox there. So I'm showing these in just kind of some regular everyday colors. Here is everything that I've stamped out, put them together. We have these really cute wrappers that you can add to your cup. There's also that smiley face I'm pointing out. I didn't die cut it, but I did stamp it. There are some leaves and flowers to kind of dress up your cup a little bit. You have a wrapper for the outside of the large cup and also the small cup. Now, most of these I had stamped and die cut out the lids, and when I was attaching them, you can either do it with liquid glue or I was adding a little bit of foam tape to the bottom just to pop it up. I also liked to add thin foam squares behind the wrapper. I thought that looked really cute. I could not resist turning these into holiday cards. I had some of the paper from Concord and Ninth. I think this is the Be Merry paper pack. And then that joy sentiment that I put on the front is from the Holiday Sayings die set. So this one I thought just came out really cute. I'm probably going to give this to my daughter because this just screams her name. And then for my second card, I used the mini cups, which are so cute. So I added them to that scalloped square. I believe that came from the So Lovely die set. And then I have the Ho Ho Ho, used the matching colors with that striped background. And that also is from the Holiday Sayings die set. So, oh my gosh, what a really cute and fun set if someone likes tea or coffee or cappuccino, anything like that. I think this is a really great set for that and just a great year-round set. I'm introducing to you the Knit with Care dies. Now here's a look at that die set. Starting with, we have an outline image which we're going to use for a base. Then you have your inside pattern. There are some separate, I would say, threads to add over the top. And then we have some strings of yarn and the Take Care sentiment. Now, what's really fun about this is you can play with colors. You can layer up different shades of color with all of Concord and Ninth's color selection that they have. This is really great to use. I started out showing here with some purples. So I have a base cut from maybe a light or medium shade of purple. I'm going to take this heart that has all of those threads on there and place it over the top to give it that layered look. Now, you could stop here. But if you take those individual threads and layer these over the top, it's going to give you even more of that sweater pattern look. I am lining these up just like I would a puzzle piece. You'll be able to tell because they do kind of change in direction. So these would go on the left-hand side, and then you'll be able to match up to see the ones that go on the right. And this really gives that sweater pattern feel. And not only that, but it feels really cool when you run your hand over this because you're adding just that little bit of dimension to it. It has a really neat textured feel to it. Of course, you can add some of the strings down there to have it trailing off like you just knitted that pattern. This is one of the cards I created with this set. I ink blended my background. So that backer piece, the solid heart, I ink blended with a rainbow of color, and then I die cut out the 2 other kind of pattern pieces from white cardstock and layered those up. So this is a really pretty look. You don't have to use colored cardstock. You can do some ink blending. I did add those kind of individual threads, probably about 2 or 3 layers, just to really layer it up and give it that dimension. The hello comes from the Sweetest Pie set, and then I used a sentiment from Knitting Together. Then this card came out way cuter than I thought it was going to be. Here I stuck in some of those knitting needles. Once again, I ink blended my background. I also have a ball of yarn that I thought paired nicely with this, so I used my yarn to create my heart pattern there. And I also added some clear dewdrops. Now the background is just a piece of, I think it was sea glass cardstock that I added some white splatters to. And then the die cut sentiment, thanks, I just tucked down in the bottom. Now, I personally can't knit, so I am more than happy to do it on my cards and have them be die cuts on the front of my cards. Such a super sweet set. I'm introducing to you the Knitting Together Stamps and Dies. This set will be able to create your own balls and skeins of yarn. So this one has a small mini stamp set to it with lots of great sentiments. It also has some decorative edges so you can put a label on your yarn. Some of the sentiments like it's your birthday, have a ball, you're the best, great job, love you, hi friend, knit happens, hang in there. I love all of these. It also has the scissors, some knitting needles, buttons, and then the hello and thanks. So you can use some of those sentiments on your label, or you can just stamp them directly onto your card front for the sentiment. Now the die set, we have the ball of yarn and the skein of yarn, which I think it's called a skein. I'm not a knitter, so bear with me. There's 2 pieces to the scissors. We also have a rectangle to die cut out your label. Then here's just a quick look at the sentiment stamped out for you and those cute little label decorative edges. I'm going to show you how to put together one of these skeins of yarn, and I think there's a little bit of creative play in here. I started out, you have a base layer that you're going to be building this on. Now there are 2 pieces that are going to fit on the ends. So I'm just lining those rounded edges up to each end. Then there is kind of another piece that's going to go over the length of the yarn. Now this one, I found it just kind of seemed to fit better on one side versus the other. I don't think either way is wrong. And then we have one more piece that's going to kind of swoop down over the top. Now, if this was actually my yarn, it would have a bunch of knots in it. So this one is really nice and clean. Then we have a ball of yarn. So similar to our skein of yarn, this one's going to have kind of a base piece that we are going to build on. This one too, I think, has a lot of creative freedom how you want to do it. So there are 2 pieces that are a little bit bigger than the others, and I'm going to line those up with the rounded edge. So these 2 I just placed on opposite sides of each other. It's going to leave just a little bit of a gap for underneath. And then the other 2 pieces I'm going to put going across it. So they're going to be overlapping. But again, I think this has a lot of creative freedom to it where you can arrange these however you like. And there's all of that stitching detail in there to really give it that yarn look. I went through and die cut out all of the pieces from this die set. There is a ton to it. The buttons I did in a bunch of different colors, and I'm layering them up just to show you on screen. Now you can use the same color for the outline and the inside of the button. I thought it would just be easier to see on camera if I did it in 2 different shades of color. But there is the main button piece and then there is an outline to it. So you can really create kind of some depth and dimension to your buttons. I think they're super cute because you can also maybe create a whole card front filled with buttons. There's also the scissors, which come in 2 pieces, so you can die cut them from maybe some mirror cardstock. We have the knitting needles, those labels. These scissors are so darn cute, and they can be used with a few different products from this release. Here's a look at one of the cards I created where I have both of the yarn on there, the skein and the ball of yarn, with the knitting needles I kind of tucked in between before I adhered everything down. The background I did with the Stay Cozy stencils. I love that stencil. I think it is just a fabulous background piece. And then my next card, I used that same stencil on the back again, the Stay Cozy. And this time I did some white splatters in the background for added interest, added some buttons for embellishments. Again, I stuck my needles in between the yarn, and instead of putting the label on top of the yarn, I just put it down tucked in the corner as my sentiment. And instead of using colored cardstock, you could do ink blending on your yarn. I think that would add a nice ombre touch to it. So this is another really fun set to add to your stash. I'm introducing to you the Stay Cozy stencils and dies. So these two sets can be used individually or they work together. I'm going to start with the stencils. There's 3 stencils in this pack. They create 3 different designs. So I'm going to take them out and show you what each one looks like. This is the Stay Cozy. So we have kind of some knitting design at the top and bottom. There's also registration marks in corners. They're kind of etched into the stencil, and that's going to help you line up an A2 size card piece. This one has just a really nice sweater background to it. And then the last one is the one with just the whole thing are these knitting pattern or little hearts. So I went through and inked up some backgrounds to show you what these look like on cardstock. This is one where it's the Stay Cozy and it has the designs on the top and the bottom. I masked off some of the areas so I could get some different colors on here, but would also look great in just one color combination. As in this one I did in just one color. I think this was Harbor Ink. That creates that sweater pattern all the way down. And then the next one is that kind of knit design look. You can do tone on tone, so with colored cardstock, or it also looks really great on white cardstock and choosing your color of ink. I'm going to stencil one of these on screen for you so you can see how it works. I took some white cardstock cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and I'm lining it up through the stencil with those registration marks that are in each corner. I just flipped my stencil over and I'm going to hold that cardstock in place with some Post-it tape. I want to do some ombre ink blending, so I'm just going to take some Post-it tape and mask off that top portion. I'm making sure that my Post-it tape is going all the way across because after a while, that's really what's going to be kind of holding my tape in place. You'll see in just a moment. I also masked off the bottom portion. I'm starting off with Harbor Ink, so I'm adding a light blue color over this stenciled area. Then I'm going to come in with a dark color. So I believe this one is Midnight. I started at the bottom with a mini blending brush and just inking that up so it fades off into that lighter blue. Then I can just peel back my Post-it tape and I'm going to do the same thing to the word cozy. Now this is what I was referring to earlier. Tape does not like to stick to wet ink. So I still have some leftover ink over that area. So that is why it's important to me to have my tape go further past the stencil if you're using tape. So that way the tape is stuck to my work surface. Now once again on the word cozy, I started out with a light blue ink, came in towards the bottom with that darker blue. Now I am just going to show you really quick this stencil design down here so you can see how it looks on a card front. And just for fun, I did it in that two-tone or that ombre look. So now as I peel this up, you can use it just as a 1-layer card to send that off, or we're going to die cut it. So this is the Stay Cozy die set. It's going to die cut out the letters for Stay Cozy. We have the shadow, and then there's also some borders or some individual dies in here that you can use for the front of your card projects. I'm going to use that shadow piece from this die set to die cut out my stencil design. So I lined it up so I have a nice white border all the way around it. I'm going to hold that down with Post-it tape and die cut it out. So you can use the stencil on its own or match it up with the die set and die cut it out. Here's some examples where I die cut out my letters in different colors. You could do each letter a different color, would be really fun. I think that's one of the examples on the back of the packaging. And then you can see there's those strips of dies. There's snowflakes, there's Christmas trees, and then there's some of those kind of knitting patterns that you could die cut out of the front of your card panel. The snowflakes and the trees I think would be really great to add as embellishments to the front of your card. Now I have a panel of cardstock at the top there. It's in that sorbet color. I thought I showed it better, but I die cut out one of those panels straight into the card front. Now for some examples I created, this is where I did that ombre ink blending and die cut out my Stay Cozy sentiment. and I added it to a panel of cardstock where I have that knitting stencil design in the background. This next card is super cute, might be my favorite that I've made. So I took one of those stencils from the Stay Cozy pack and I masked off the areas to get different colors down the front of my card. Then I added some of these sweaters from sweater season to the front, kept them in plain cardstock so that they didn't fight with my background. This one, I went a little more bright and festive. I used the Stay Cozy die and die cut it out of white cardstock and added it to a striped patterned background. Of course, I had to throw in some rainbow colors on that one. And for this one, I die cut out those snowflakes in a rainbow of colors to create my own kind of pattern in the background. This one is also using a sweater from sweater season that I did in a rainbow blend. Concord 9th is really knocking it out of the park with this release. This again can be used individually or together. I'm introducing to you sweater season stamps and dies. I am going to warn you now that you could really get carried away with this set. So let's take a look at the mini stamp set. This one has your own sweater pattern that you can stamp along with some individual designs. We have a few fun sentiments on here like "'Tis the season to be freezin'," "Warm wishes this holiday season," "Keep it cozy." There is also a little snowflake you can stamp out onto your sweaters. And now this is the sweater die set. So you have 3 different types of sweaters. It's the collar that really changes in this. There are lots of different elements on here, snowflakes and zigzags. You have the ribbed areas for your sleeves. I can't think of the name. And your different collars you can add. There's also the hats. You can do different types of pom-poms on your hats. So this one you can just really create and have fun with. Now, of course, on the back, there are some amazing designs. You can do these in festive holiday colors or maybe some more wintry colors. I think this would work great for fall too. Here's a look at everything kind of stamped out for you. I got to learn not to stamp in light colors so you can see them better, but there's some plus signs. We have some dashes and snowflakes. So some really cute patterns you can stamp onto your sweaters. Again, I got a little carried away when I was die cutting and I just made a bunch of sweaters. Now this one, I kind of stuck to a certain color palette so I knew everything kind of matched. I have, I believe it's Nectar and maybe that's Sorbet. We have Midnight and Harbor. Beautiful, I think, color combination for some winter colors. And this is where you can really start mixing and matching. You can make turtlenecks for your sweaters. You can have more of a crew neck. You can add your zigzags, kind of play with the color combinations, add dark collars or dark sleeves to your ends. There's some snowflakes and Christmas trees. Play with the hats and make different hats on here. You can also add these embellishments to the hats or even stamp your pattern onto the hats. I have a couple matchy-matchy outfits here that you may notice on the top corners. I think there's one on the right and one on the left-hand corners where I made matching hats. Now in one of these, I stamped the pattern. So I did these snowflakes, and then I think these are little dashes or the diamonds that I did on the sweater. I can also combine them. So on another one of the sweaters, I had taken the square background stamp, stamped it, and then added a design above that. So lots of different combinations for this one. I wanted to pull one of these up and give you a close-up of how cute they are. I don't have any of the bottom pieces or the sleeves die cut out. I think I used them all from my stash, but they have little ribbed markings in them. And please disregard that I stamped my background upside down. Still really cute knit pattern though. And then this is another one of my favorites where I had used that background stamp like I mentioned before, stamped it on the bottom half, and then added the design to the top half of the sweater. The die set also includes 2 words that you can die cut out. There's bundled up and ho ho ho, and I lost my up. So I'm going to show you on the packaging. There's bundled up with the exclamation point. I did find it later on the floor, but I wanted to point that out. There's ho ho ho, and the die actually cuts all 3 of the ho ho ho's all at the same time. So you can add that to the front of your card or even just as maybe on a tag. You could do a lot of these in tags. This is my first card example where I took kind of that similar color combination and I did a grid pattern on the front of my card. The background I did with, I believe it's called a basket weave. So just to add some interest to the background, love using these sweaters and even the hats in this grid style pattern. Now, really fun thing about these hats is that you can replace the A in Stay Cozy with one of the hats. So I really wanted to do another grid style card with the hats, but I wanted to be sure to point this out that you can use these hats on the Stay Cozy die set. Another set that I just had so much fun playing with, like I said, maybe some tags to put on your Christmas presents with these sweaters would be super cute. I am introducing the Treetops Turnabout stamp set and dies. Now, this stamp set is really great for all seasons. So we're starting out taking a look at this turnabout stamp. There's actually 2 turnabouts on here, plus some individual images and sentiments. There is that little heart with the arrow through it that I think is adorable that you can stamp on your tree. And we have tons of sentiments on here that I'm going to go through in just a moment when I show you the stamped out version. But you're going to be able to create either a set of leaves or you can have a tree with leaves and flowers on them. The die set, you're going to have a coordinating die that will cut around both of those turnabouts. There's also 2 sets of leaves on here. You have your main tree trunk with the branches, and then there are some strips, a strip of die that has flowers on it, so you can add flowers to your trees. There is a swing, banner for your sentiment, and also some leaves. And then on the back of the packaging, of course, there are some ideas for you here to get you started. I think it's a great idea that you can stamp on colored cardstock, or you can stamp right on your cardstock. And you can also create that tree with the leaves, so you can use the coordinating die or not. I did go ahead and stamp out the images from the stamp set, so you have individual leaves and a heart. The tree stump, we have things like I love you, miss you, you're my person, good things are coming. I love growing with you, thinking of you, and thanks for everything. I did also go ahead and die cut out most of the pieces from the die set. So at the top there in white, I do have the banner for the sentiments. Now you also have a swing. I did one in white and I did one in craft. And then it also die cuts out the seat, so you can make these 2 different colors. I did pick it up, so I have like the kind of craft colored swing, and I'll put a white seat on it just for some fun. Or you can do the white swing and have a craft colored seat. Now you can also see there is a huge assortment of leaves and flowers, kind of the spring leaves, and you can use these to add on to your stamped turnabout images, or you can use them to completely fill your tree. I also have 2 different colored trees die cut out from like a dark brown, and I think I even used a pebble. I think these would be really great die cut out of a dark gray or even black to create silhouette images. I'm going to go through and stamp both of the turnabout images for you so you can see what they look like stamped out. This first image is going to be more of a spring theme, so it has leaves and flowers in it. I already have my cardstock aligned in my Misty tool, and I stamped this first one in, I think this was Buttercup. I decided to kind of deepen that a little bit, so I switched it over to Stardust. Now, after each time I stamp, I am going to turn it, so I'll have a number up in the right-hand corner. So it was number 1. Number 2, I used Carnation. Number 3, I used Clementine. And then on number 4, I used Tide Pool, which needs to be re-inked because I use it so much. So I did double stamp that. So now we have this beautiful assortment for a spring tree. Now I'm going to do the second turnabout, which is going to be the leaves. And this one I think is really fun because you can do it in a variety of greens. You could do it in maybe like Tide Pool and Juniper or all one color. It would also look great, I think, stamped on like a wheat or craft colored cardstock or even a regular colored cardstock. I mean, there's so many options with this one. And of course, you can take the coordinating die and die cut out each of these, but I'm going to show you a card where I didn't. Now here I just wanted to show you the colors that I used. This is the set for the leaves, and this is the set for the spring flowers. Here's a card I created where I stamped everything on a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch white note card. And I did not die cut it out. I just added the tree trunk or the tree branches to the front of it. I popped that up with foam squares. I did do a little bit of ink blending on the tree with a light pink ink, which I think makes it stand out. Now this card I may have gotten a little carried away, but I really love it. I did die cut out the coordinating die to the tree, but I used it as a base. So it is clementine cardstock, and then I die cut all of those leaves out and added it over the tree trunk and the branches. So a really great way to use that other than die cutting out your image. And then this one is where I just used those branches in the tree trunk where I created a snowy scene. So I added those to an ink blended background. I used an oval die for, I think it's from the Records set that I created a window, and I added that cute little fox, which I think is from the set that has the cloche in it. So it's 3 different ways that you can use this set, but there are so many more ideas for it. It is going to be so much fun using these throughout the seasons.